Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to go over an article titled How MeToo Has Ruined Dating. Expert who runs 4,500-pound boot camps for men claims they become dull, nice guys who repel women because they're too scared of looking creepy. And guys, this article is written about a woman, by a woman and about a woman, by the name of Kezia Noble. She's 38 years old, and she has a YouTube channel. She's been around YouTube for like 10 years or something, and she's a female dating coach that helps guys, runs boot camps and all that type of stuff, okay? And in this article, she's going to go into exactly what the title says, that thanks to Me Too, and I'm no longer going to say that because I got to speak in code, otherwise they won't let me publish this video. Thanks to M2, as I'm going to call it. A lot of guys simply are not approaching women anymore, even though they want to, or they're coming off really, they're very careful what they say and they do, and they come off as these boring nice guy types, not getting them anywhere. And so she's bringing this up as a dating coach because she's seeing this crap going on, and she obviously recognizes that thanks to M2, a lot of this is happening, you know. And I will say this, guys. I've said to you guys in a lot of videos, for those of you guys that do dating and relationships and pickup and all those things, if you're ever going to take advice about women, whether it's attracting women, dating, relationships, everything in that under that category, take the advice from men. Take it from guys that have been around the block, know what they're doing, things like that. Don't take that type of advice from women. And the reason is, as I've said this before, most women don't get what they respond to emotionally, okay? They don't get the buttons that are pushed in them to attract certain type of guys. And even if they do, they don't like it. You know, a typical woman that's attracted to bad boys, even though she's attracted to bad boys, probably hates the fact that she's attracted to bad boys, okay? So if a guy friend of hers or her brother or whatever asked her for advice because she hates the fact that she's attracted to guys like that and the things they do to push her buttons in a good way, she may tell the guy to do the exact opposite because she doesn't like how those guys get her so easily. See what I'm talking about? And all types of things like that. Or you can get women that kind of get some things, like they'll tell you, no, don't show up on the first date with flowers or candy or some bullshit. Obviously things that you should not do, right? Because that'd be seen as trying too hard, kissing her ass, acting like Forrest Gump, I don't know what. Okay, she gets that. But she might also tell you, after the date, text her the next day to tell how much of a great time you had. And that's a wrong way to go because then the woman would then know that you really like her. And that would take away the mystery and her wondering if you actually like her. She might think that, hey, if a guy would tell you, don't text her the next day telling you had a good time, because then she's got to wonder if the dude even likes her. And she'll think about it and text her friends about you because every other guy does that, text her the next day. But you see, the woman would tell you to do that. See what I'm talking about here? So you can get women that kind of get some things and some women that don't. Okay? Or let me put it this way. Most don't get it, but you can get some that occasionally do get a few things. Then you get women that actually really do get a lot and are actually willing to admit these things, whether they like it or not, and they become female dating coaches, like this lady here. And I looked up her channel on YouTube, and like I said, she's 38, and let me tell you, for her age, she's good looking, and I looked up some of her things, and there are definitely things she talks about I do agree with. I absolutely I'll be fair here and admit that, because some do get it, okay? And that's why she's successful. So I'm doing this article, even though it's a woman who is a dating coach, because of that purpose, because she definitely knows some things, and she's accurate about some things. But again, at the end of the day, guys, take your advice from guys. Just play it safe that way. But you're going to see here in this article about the whole Me Too thing, or M2. So it starts off, a dating expert has claimed the M2 movement has made men across the world scared to approach women on the street for fear they'll come across as creepy, or be accused of harassment. Kezia Noble, 38, from Chelsea, southwest London, an author who appeared as a coach on Celebs Go Dating in 2018, said many blokes have adopted dull, nice guy filters that actually repel women rather than attract them. The divorced mother of one, well, I'm not surprised there, whose YouTube videos offering dating advice have reached 75 million views, said while the empowering movement has served a very good purpose, she is concerned about its trickle effect, which has made men feel they can't talk or interact with women in real life. Kezia added that most women she speaks to say they are fed up with woke men being too nice and bumbling, and want a guy to take the bull by the horns and ask them out. So you can see here, yeah, she's obviously saying, in her view, that, hey, it has done some good in some areas, but it's turned all these guys that ordinarily would talk to and approach women, they don't do it anymore because obviously they're concerned and worried that, hey, I don't want to be accused of harassment and stuff like that. Or guys that are out on a date with a woman that would normally escalate things in the date, as guys should do, and take charge, take the bull by the horns, as she's talking about here. They're apprehensive and they're holding back from doing that because, again, given how things are in this day and age, it's like a pass to stick it to guys, you know? And, you know, we can all joke around saying, like, a guy goes into a guy approaches a woman, and if he's good looking, if she finds him attractive, then he's charming. But if she doesn't find him attractive, then he's creepy and he's a stalker and harassing her, you know? But lots of guys aren't going to do this now because of MeToo, and they don't want to in any way risk being accused of something that they weren't doing, or harassment, and potentially have charges against them, impact their jobs, their careers, a number of things. And it does happen, especially in the workplace. That's why so many guys are avoiding women in the workplace. So many guys are avoiding mentoring women in the workplace. And I've done a number of videos and guys about women complaining about that and hating that. The guys are like, whoa, you know, avoiding them at all cost. But what do you expect? These guys are protecting themselves. But now here in the dating scene, it's had a trickle-down effect, as she talked about here. But here's the thing, you know, she can label guys as being kind of pussies in a way, but also, you know, you got to look at it from a different perspective. Guys are protecting themselves. So guys have got to, basically, for those of you guys that do dating and pick up and want to hook up with women, you got to find that balance, the fine line, you know, and that you can determine through your own experience in doing things. She continues, she told F-Mail, the MeToo movement served a very good purpose. Harvey Weinstein has just been convicted, and quite rightly so. There are men in power who abuse it, and this is something that I think most people would say should be clamped down on. My problem is the trickle-down effect of MeToo has had, where it's affecting normal guys approaching women in a bar or in the street. It's like it's being perpetuated, like you got to be super, super respectful to women. You can't invade her space. You can't talk to her. You can't approach her. And then it's kind of like, well, what's left? These are fair points. Kesey went on to say that it's caused men to water down their masculine traits and take on nice guy persona. Guys, women don't like the vanilla nice guy types. It doesn't work that way. If they say they want that, they don't want it, okay? Now, it doesn't mean you have to go around and be acting like an asshole, but it doesn't mean, and again, keep in mind something, guys, as I've said before in the videos, a guy's interpretation of nice is usually a way of just being a decent human being, so to speak. To put it as simple as possible, you know, being respectful, treating a woman like a decent human being, like you would anybody else you come across down the street, if you're the type of guy that's just respectful of people in general. I was raised to be respectful of people, okay? Women's definition of nice is not necessarily that. It's guys that are too accommodating, guys that are too easy, guys that are doing pretty much anything to please them, agreeing with everything they say, doing everything they want to do, liking things that they like, going against the guy's own interests and views and opinions just to please her. Things like that. That's what nice guys do. Nice guys put the woman or everybody else, their needs before them. Okay, they become a doormat. They are a whipping post to just take it all for somebody else. They don't want that. So there's different definitions here. Or guys that are just afraid to go for what they want. Okay, these are nice guy traits. You don't want to be that. Okay, but you don't have to be act like an asshole as well. She says, I know when I talk to guys now and they approach me, I think, oh God, this is some weird filter you've got on because you're scared of M2 or something, she said. It's a bit dull. It's watering the guy's traits down, his character, his boldness, to make him this nice, inoffensive, bland, forgettable, nice guy. In other words, guys, don't be the nice guy. She argued that men can be alpha males without being, and she says something here. If you're reading this article, click on the description. She put something here. It's obviously a curse word with a bunch of asterisks. I don't know what the hell it is. So just you can figure it out yourself. Without being, I'm assuming, a jerk to women. Adding, treat them mean to keep them keen doesn't mean be abusive. It just means don't be so readily available. Exactly. A lot of times, the bad boys, simply not necessarily acting like criminals. They put themselves first. They're not going to chase after them the way the nice guy would. They're going to take their time getting back to them when they text them. They're not going to tell them how much of a great time they had on the date. They're not going to put them on the pedestal. Things like that, And again, like she said, they're not so readily available. Bad boys give them a challenge. Women love challenges. She says, show them that you have other options. Things like that. It's just game strategy, which women play on men and men play on women. I just feel like it's getting a bit lost. Kezia operates in the UK and also has a team in the United States. She runs weekly workshops costing £487 and 7-day mastery programs for £4,500, as well as offering online training programs and ebooks to help men and women. That's some serious money for her programs. She claims the MeToo fear has pushed men toward dating apps, which she argues don't work because people are judged purely on how they look in a picture, and often those photos are heavily edited and filtered. She's added it's also meant many people now lack engaging conversation and flirting skills because they're so used to communicating via text messages. Guys, I'm sure many of you guys are aware that dating apps, if you're really good looking, okay, you're going to have some fun on there. But if you're your average Joe, it's a lot harder, believe me. And a lot of women go on these dating apps purely for attention. They already have guys that they're dating or have rotations of guys they're hooking up with. And the dating apps is just extra attention and validation to make them feel good. Like I told you before, for women, attention and validation is like a plant that needs water and sunlight. It can't survive without it. So a lot of women are on Tinder and all those other dating apps purely for the attention. That's it. Because they can say, oh, look, I got all these likes and emails and messages from all these guys. Makes her feel good, builds up the ego, and this is what we have today. She goes on, we're not talking to people one-on-one in real life. So our social skills are not in good shape, she argued. A lot of women say this guy was so witty in his text messages, but when I saw him, he was a social freak and was really awkward. This is part of the reason she urges singletons to ditch dating apps, something she never used herself. Yeah, well, you take one look at her and you can see that she never had to do dating apps, trust me. Even though she's in her late 30s. This is I know that with all my ex-boyfriends, if I'd seen them on dating app, I would never have swiped right, she said. It's not just about looks, and this is a terrible thing. The only people that are really doing well from dating apps are good-looking people. You're just looking for your type of person. You're not going to go look at someone and think, oh, maybe. When you meet people in real life, you see them in the bar interacting with other people. You think, oh, there's something about that person, the way they move, their eye contact. And obviously she's going into the whole dating app things in here, but the point is that thanks to MeToo, a lot of guys aren't even doing this. She says, I had this experience a couple of years ago. Immediately I was like, no thank you. And then I got talking to him and I was like, oh gosh, wow. I called him the Thunderbolt because I was like, where did that come from? One of the skills Kezia teaches is conversational clickbait, using tailored talking points that will hook people in and make them more curious and invested in the interaction. I always say to my guys, work massively on conversation, because when you know that you can go and have an engaging conversation with anybody and not be sitting there going, oh, I hope we can have something in common, what happens is that you can connect, you relax, your anxiety relaxes, and you're able to vibe, she said. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, guys, again, for you guys to do dating and relationships and all that, you got to get comfortable talking to people. And the best way to get comfortable talking to people is get off your ass and go out in public, any type of environment, the bank, the store, restaurants, and just start chatting people up. You chat up the waiter or the waitress or the bartender or the person at the checkout counter at Target. You see where I'm going with this? The more you talk to people and engage people, the better you're going to get at it. The more you're going to be able to just strike up a conversation like that, okay? And I'm not talking about some smoking hot woman. I'm talking about just anybody. Get really used to talking to anybody, anywhere you go, just simply by asking them questions about what they're doing, their job, whatever, or just making a comment about something in the environment, whatever. And it'll become so easy for it. It'll become second nature that when you actually start meeting women, it'll be easier to strike up conversation with them and get things going instead of just freezing up and not having anything to say. So she's definitely right there. I always say, think about what your 3 best selling points are. Think about what you've got going on for you and bring that into the forefront of a conversation. A lot of guys will say, she has to get to know me, but no, she doesn't. It's not that simple. You have to market yourself very quickly. Listen and don't come out with some of the same crap everyone does. If she says, I'm from Spain, rather than going, what part, how long have you been here for, replace that generic with something like, you know what, I've never been there. Tell me 2 things about making it an incredible place to visit. Okay, see, she's helping with the conversation. And these are good points. It's minor conversation alterations that can make a huge difference. When people say, just be confident, just be your confident best self, that doesn't translate, it's too vague. Kezia, whose clients vary in age from their 20s to their 50s and hail from all walks of life, said most men she coaches say they receive better responses from women on the street or in a cafe or bar now than they did 5 years ago. She says here, women are saying, this is so nice to have a conversation with someone is approaching me, rather than just having conversations on dating apps, she explained. I find that true, but also keep in mind that a lot of guys aren't doing this because, as the purpose of the article, because of MeToo. So you can talk to women, but also, as I said before, it does help if they find you attractive. If they don't find you visually appealing right away, it's difficult for the guy to get her to chit-chat, and also, that's her. A woman could easily say, "Oh, he's harassing me," right? So it's tough. But the point is, guys, is if this is what you're interested in women, you're interested in dating and hooking up and all that, you got to put your best foot forward and make the effort and try. Okay, instead of just freezing up and saying, "Oh, that's it. I'm not doing anything." Even though I want to hook up with women, I'm not going to do it or say anything because of M2. She says, Kezia pointed out that the dating apps are not necessarily a safe place to meet men because you can't get a good impression of someone's vibe. I know when I go to meet a guy, I trust my instincts. I know when someone's a bit off, I can't explain it. It's an eye contact thing, she said. I think it can be quite dangerous to meet someone you don't know. It creates a very easy hookup culture and people get ghosted all the time. If you meet someone in real life and you go on a date, you're more likely to invest in it a bit more. So, that was her whole thing there. She got into the whole thing about Me Too, then obviously went into more about things that she talks about in the dating spectrum and better to meet people in person than on dating apps. And by the way, if you're at all interested, she does one part of the article which I did not cover, where she lists a bunch of tips and advice. Some things I agree with, some things I don't. If you want to just read it purely for just, to see what she has to say, be my guest. But like I said in the beginning of the video, guys, by and large, in spite of her doing what she does and obviously had success in this, by and large, remember this, it's best to take your advice about attraction and women and pickup and relationships, take it from guys. Because most women don't get it. And even some that do, at the end of the day, they're going to do what's best for women in general compared to what can help you. Okay, always keep that in mind. Because when I was younger and I didn't know any better, I took advice from women, girls I was friends with, women in my family, about advice about dating and all that type of thing. And guess what? It blew up in my face. And by the way, when I would do the opposite of what they said, guess what? I had great success. So even though this is written by a woman, and even though she obviously knows a lot what she's talking about, and she has done well, I'll give her credit where credit's due. At the end of the day, guys, stick to asking guys for help. Trust me on this. You'll save yourself a whole lot of frustration and aggravation. But anyway, guys, about the whole Me Too thing, definitely had an impact on guys. That's why a lot of guys have definitely been backing away, not just at the workplace, but if this is something you want, guys, if this is something you can't let that get in your way. Okay, you're going to have to press forward and do that. And for those of you guys that are, have not had the success you wanted to and are using Me Too as an excuse, like, well, because of Me Too, I'm not going to do it. It's not my fault that I don't have anybody that I'm hooking up with or dating or whatever, No, that's a cop-out. If this is what you really want, if you're going to be hooking up and doing all that, then you got to crawl out of your hole and make it happen. Don't let Me Too be an excuse. But truthfully you do have to be careful, though. So you'll discover the fine line how to handle things, guys, in this crazy world that we're in right now. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.